Welcome back to the FlairBar.com show, Tales of the Cocktail 2015, in our huge studio, really room 372 in the Monteleone. Elizabeth Pearce. Elizabeth, how you doing?
I'm doing very well. Thanks for having me. Delighted to be here.
Thank you for coming. We've known each other for a little while now. Every time I see you, I smile. You have the most infectious smile ever, and when you start talking about cocktails and history, you're just like, I love you. You glamour me.
Wow, I didn't know I glamoured anyone, but I'm glad to hear it.
Your first seminar, I think actually the first time I saw you, not to cut ahead, but the first time I saw you was at an event, the Southeast Regional Conference 2 years ago. I think
In Atlanta.
Yeah. And what you did there was amazing. But we're gonna talk about that a little bit later. Let's come back to Tales. We're at Tales now. And this is how many years for you?
So I've been coming to Tales since it started because I'm a New Orleanian. So you do the thing that's in your backyard. Silly not to. So it's my 13th. Lucky 13.
Wow. Now, what have you seen since maybe the beginning of Tales to now? And do you have different goals from going then to now? Different priorities?
So when I first came to Tales, I was not in the industry at all. I was just somebody who liked to drink, which is pretty much what you have to be if you live in New Orleans. But I love to learn, so I was definitely geared to seminars and maybe learning about drinks, learning not so much making, but stories and what was new that I might want to drink, and drinking widely and indiscriminately, which is pretty much what you do all the time in Tales. So that's how I started, but over time, I eventually joined this lovely community, and my goals have changed because now I'm working in the industry. Obviously, I use it. I look forward to Tales as a time when everyone is in the same hotel, the same lobby, and so you get to meet new folks, see folks that you only see once a year. It's like a wedding or a funeral, but better, both at the same time. And so it's a lot of, it's a nasty word, networking, so I prefer visiting, catching up, and it is, of course, also seeing what's new, seeing trends are. I'm not behind the bar, so I'm not as focused on that as much as what discoveries are being made, new stories about old drinks, and seeing where things are headed and how that might intersect with my path.
Now, you start off as a consumer or enthusiast, if you will, and you've kind of grown more into this hospitality scene. How was that transition, and what are you doing now?
So I helped to create and open the Southern Food and Beverage Museum from 2004 to 2008. I was the senior curator there, which meant at the time I was the only curator there. And despite having no background in museums or history, a strong liberal arts education prepares you for anything. And I think a lot of folks in this world have discovered that even if you don't have an official background in something, like, you can just jump in and do it, and people respond. So we opened the museum, and in 2008, it was the great financial apocalypse. Funding dried up. Everybody got laid off. I went on unemployment, drank heavily, and dated a musician, which is the holy trinity if you just want to shift your professional path. So I kind of hit the reset button and ended up creating a company telling the history of New Orleans through food and drink, later just focusing on drink, working with conventions. I created a tour, doing classes, and I've actually circled back, and now I'm the drinks curator at the Southern Food and Beverage Museum, which is reopened in some shiny new digs. So I moved from someone who was a teacher, it's actually the degree, and then helped to create a museum, and then started this business that's very leisure traveler facing, not so much industry facing, but the general consumer. And my business is Drink and Learn, two verbs that I can totally get behind.
Now, the website is drinkandlearn.com.
Drinkandlearn.com.
Now, if I come across drinkandlearn.com, what would I expect to see there?
So you can learn about the classes and tours that I give. There's a link to the Southern Food and Beverage Museum. There's a link to my book, The French Quarter Drinking Companion.
Busy woman.
My co-authors and I visited 100 bars in the French Quarter, and we wrote a short story about what happened to us in each one. It is not a best to worst. There is no best, as we all know. It's merely what do you need?
Yeah.
Did you just get engaged? Did you just get laid off? Do you want to dance all night on Bourbon Street? Do you need to forget your name? Cheap.
Yeah.
So each
grenade.
bar is organized by category, and it is a chronicle of what happens when you start drinking in the Quarter, the stories, the people, the very unexpected scenarios that you might stumble across or that might enter the bar. And so, we joked about the way you start drinking in the Quarter is really never the way you end, but that it is this kind of microcosm of New Orleans, that you can go very, very highbrow, super fancy culture, and, step outside, hang a right, and then you're somewhere in a neighborhood, or you're like doing karaoke, or and it's this bustling, vibrant. It's the personality of the French Quarter is what we tried to capture, and really there's no better way to understand that than through the lens of drinking.
What a great Tales survival guide before anyone even thought of it. What was the inspiration for actually writing the book?
So there are 3 authors, and 2 of us were unemployed in drinking.
Perfect.
So I tell people that if you are in that situation and you have an idea, you should take notes, and then the next morning read them. And if it still sounds like a good idea, then turn it into whatever that thing is, whether it's a blog or a book or a business.
Now, to touch what we talked about earlier, the first time I saw you was at the Southeast Regional Conference, United States Bartenders Guild, and you put on, it was a seminar, but it was more of a show. You put on an amazing show, and you did it again at Repeal Day, but even better with the Tampa USBG chapter. Can you talk about what someone would experience from that show, and how did you even come up with that, and all the history you had to research?
Yeah, so I think that because I work with the general public, because I run this tour company, what people in America seem to be kind of coming around to the idea that you can learn about a place through food. We're all pretty comfortable with that idea. But the idea of learning about a place, and I don't mean just New Orleans, I mean like the story of America, the settling of America, or the Caribbean or whatever. Learning about it through drinks. And I don't even so much worry about how the drink tastes. It's about what is the story, not only of its creation, but what was happening all around it. Who were the people that were involved? What were the political machinations? Was there a war? What was the conflict? Religion, art, whatever was happening around that drink. You can use the drink to talk about it. So I created a musical. Working title is No Beer, No Work, the Songs of Prohibition, because that was a song during Prohibition. And I used the songs that were written during that time to tell the story of Prohibition, because there was no Twitter back then, there was no Facebook, so people wrote songs about everything that was happening to them. So there are songs about going to Cuba. There's a song about going to the doctor to get a prescription for whiskey. There's a song about drinking in your cellar. There's actually many songs about drinking in your cellar. And so I sing those songs, and they're strung together with this narrative that kind of stitches this arc of the story of what happened in our country. And it's a really interesting way to sort of shift the understanding of Prohibition. And the reason I think everybody likes it is bartenders love a new way to understand drinking and not drinking. And the general public, who generally likes to drink, is delighted to have their drinking legitimatized, is that the word? And that it can be used as this lens to learn about the whole world. Everyone, it's a revelation. When people take my tour, or they take a class with me, or they see my show, and they say to a man or a woman, I wish you had been my American history teacher. And I say, the whiskey helps.
Yes. Now, let me say this. It's an amazing show. Not only is it very educational, it's very entertaining. You're not only learning, but you're entertained the whole time, which definitely helps. Now, let me ask you this. Did you have to learn how to sing? Was that a hidden talent you didn't know you had?
I've been singing since I was very young.
Oh.
So the singing was as much a part of me trying to put together, because if you're self-employed, you get to make your life, right? So I got to take things that I already like to do and put them together. And I love to tell stories. I love to learn and teach. And I also love to sing. So I put it all together.
Awesome. And one thing I really appreciated was it kind of put you in the sense of being back in that time. With hearing the stories and the way you presented it by singing it, you can almost picture those protesters singing the songs, and it kind of puts you in that era, so you relate to it more. I thought that was amazing, the way you just brought it all together.
Wow, well, thank you, and I hope to have the show up at the Southern Food and Beverage Museum or some other venues in New Orleans, and perhaps by the end of the year or early next year, I'll be touring, so perhaps coming to a town near you, and I will be back in Tampa at Repeal Day.
Yes!
And this time, not only doing it for the USBG community, but it sounds like so far that I'm going to be at the gala. So
Nice!
I'll be doing a version of that for the public.
Right at the opening or halfway through, I think would be perfect.
Yep.
Elizabeth Pearce, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Again, always a pleasure. Infectious energy. If you haven't seen the show yet, make sure you go December 5th, Tampa Repeal Day. Go to the gala. It's an amazing event and an amazing show. Elizabeth, thank you.
Thank you so much.
And we'll be back right after this.